Hare Krishna, everyone. So, verse 36, chapter 4, verse 36. Api ched ase papebhya.
Shall we start with the Mangalacharanam?
Yes. Can you put it on the screen?
I can put it on the screen. 1 minute. Can you see that?
Yeah. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya
Jnanajana
Jnananjanashalakaya
Chakshuru Unmilitam Yena
Chakshurunmilitam Yena
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Thapitam Yena Bhutale
Sthapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam
Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam
Dadati Swapadantikam
Tadati Swapadantikam
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri
Vandeham Shri Guru
Vaishnavanscha
Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha
Shri Rupam Sagara
Shri Rupam Sakrajatam
Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam
Sahagana
Rupam
Raghunatham
Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam
Sadvaitam Sadhutam
Satvaitam Savadhutam
Sahitam
Parijana Sahitam
Krishna Chaitanya Devam
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Devam
Devam
Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalitam Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha
Shri
Shri
Radha
Radha
Krishna
Krishna
Padam Sahagana
Padam
Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha
Mataji, if you can just He Krishna Karuna Sindho
He Krishna Karuna Sindhu
Dina Bandho Jagatpate
Dina Bandho
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Gopesha Gopika Kanta
Radha Kanta Namostute
Radha Kanta Namostate
Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi
Saptakanta
Kanchana
Gaurangi
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanustute Devi
Vrishabhanusute Devi
Pranamami Haripriye
Pranamami
Pranamami
Haripriye
Nami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Vanchakalparubhyascha
Kripa Sindubhya Eva cha
Kripa
Kripasindhubhya
Sindhubhya Eva cha
Patitanam Pavanebhyo
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha
Shri
Krishna
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
जय श्री
Nityananda
जय श्री
Shri
कृष्ण
Krishna
चैतन्य प्रभु
Chaitanya
नित्यानंद
Prabhu Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhara
श्री
Srivasa
अद्वैत गदाधर
Vrinda
श्री
Adhika
अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
Hare Krishna
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण हरे
Krishna
हरे
Hare
Hare Rama
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
राम
Rama
राम
Rama
हरे हरे
Hare Hare.
So, I'll begin with Shlok 36.
Yeah.
Api chedasi papebhya
Api chedasi papebhyo
sarvebhya papakrittamaha
sarvebhya papakrittamaha
sarvam sarvam jnana plavenaiva
sarvam jnanaplavenaiva
vrujinam santarishyasi.
vrijinam santarishyasi.
So the word for word meaning is api even to is a CUR papebhya of sinners, sarvebhya of all, papakrittamaha the greatest sinner, sarvam all such sinful reactions, jnana plavena by the boat of transcendental knowledge, eva certainly, virjanam the ocean of miseries, santarishyasi you will cross completely. So, Srila Prabhupada's translation is, even if you are considered the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. In verse 36, the Lord metaphorically talks of the transcendental knowledge as a boat that can carry over safely the most sinful of all sinners across the ocean of misery. The ocean of misery is the ocean of ignorance that deludes the living entities who, under the force of the material energy, imagine themselves as separate identities and become forgetful of the Lord. They fail to understand their constitutional position in relationship to the Supreme. However, perfect knowledge of the truth regarding the Supreme Personality and one's constitutional position as his eternal servitor, in other words, living in Krishna consciousness, is the path to liberation for even those who are immersed in the ocean of misery caused by ignorance and material existence. Moving on to Shlok 37. यथैधांसि समिद्धो यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निर् Mataji, please correct wrong in
No problem. You're doing well. No problem. Yathaidhamsi samidhogner
यथैदं समिद्धोऽग्निर्
भस्मसत् कुरुते Arjuna
bhasmasat kurute Arjuna
ज्ञाना ज्ञानागृह सर्वकर्माणि
jnanagni sarvakarmani
भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा
bhasmasat kurute tatha
यथा just as idhamisi firewood samvidha blazing agni fire bhasmasat ashes kurute turns Arjuna, O Arjun, Jnanagni, the fire of knowledge, Sarva Karmani, all reactions to material activities, Bhasmasat to ashes, Kurute, it turns, Tatha, similarly. So Srila Prabhupada's translation is, as a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. In this shloka, the perfect knowledge of the self and the super self, and the knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme, is compared to fire. Just as fire has the ability to burn wood to ashes, so also this transcendental knowledge has the power to burn all reactions to pious and impious activities. The reactions that arise from both knowingly and unknowingly, are simply reduced to ashes when one is in full knowledge of self realization and knows his position in relationship to the Supreme. Moving on to Shlok 38. Nahi jnanena sadrasham
ज्ञानेन सदृशं
pavitram iha vidyate
पवित्रं इह विद्यते
tvatsayam yoga samsiddha
तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः
कालेनात्मनि विन्दति.
कालेनात्मनि विन्दति
Na is nothing. He certainly. Jnanena with knowledge. Sadrisham in comparison. Pavitram sanctified. Iha in this world. Vidyate exists. Tat that. Swayam himself. Yoga in devotion. Samsiddha who is mature. Kalena in the course of time. Atmani in himself. Vindati enjoys. In this world, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. Here, the Lord talks of the purity, the mysticism, and the sublime quality of the transcendental knowledge. This knowledge is the mature fruit of the devotional service in Krishna consciousness. It is the cause of liberation from material bondage. A person who is situated thus needn't look outside for peace, as he would find peace within himself. The Lord thus reveals to a deluded Arjun, confused and dejected on the battlefield, the disciplic succession of the ancient science of one's relationship with the Supreme, the very purpose and transcendental nature of his appearance on earth, the institution of the Varnashram Dharma, the importance of the different sacrifices done with a spiritual objective, the importance of a spiritual master who is a self-realized soul, and the knowledge of one's constitutional position vis-a-vis the Supreme. The Lord emphasizes, praises, and stresses upon the power of the transcendental knowledge as the dispeller of ignorance and the cause of liberation. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. So would anybody like to add anything here? They're fairly straightforward, isn't it? So earlier we saw Krishna say in 35. So in 34, he said, approach a spiritual master. Our favorite was Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So your gurus will give you knowledge. When you serve them nicely, when you are humble, and when you question them nicely. Now that knowledge, what is the use of that knowledge is now discussed here in 35. In 35 it said, Yajñātva na punarmoham. Evam yasasya pandava yena bhutanyasheshani drakshasi atmanyato mayi. Punarmoham. So punaha means again. Moham, in illusion. Knowing this, you will not fall again into illusion. Because Arjuna is already in illusion. What is that illusion right now?
Whether to fight or not.
Yeah, but why is that question arising? What is the illusion that's leading to that question?
They are all. He has got the attachment towards his relatives and all that. He doesn't want to fight. So suppose he fights, he will kill. He feels that it is a sin,
Hmm.
and he doesn't buy the instruction of Lord Krishna. That's why he is in the Maya.
Hmm. So the
He
more
doesn't have the faith, complete faith on Lord Krishna till such time.
um he has faith, but he is an illusion. He's because here Krishna is saying punar moham. He is an illusion. Yes, Vidushi?
This is my view. He's identifying with the body, so then he sees every single person as identifying with the body. My son, my father.
Mm.
That's
Mm.
the illusion. That's what I came up with.
That's correct. And yes, Prabhuji, you were heading down that track there, you know. So the illusion is that I am going to kill my relations, my relatives. These are my people. They are all related to me. By killing them, I'm killing a part of me. So Krishna says, once you have this knowledge will teach you, which is why he says, Mansi's mom. Just check. Which is why, sorry, going back. So Krishna says, Punar Moham, that again you will not fall into this illusion. And why is that? And once that happens, what will happen? Yena, by which Bhutani Asheshani Drakshasi. You will see Asheshani, means every Bhutani, living entity, without exception, whether it's Brahmaji or an ant. You will see everything as part of me. Currently, you are seeing everything as part of you, Krishna is saying. Currently, you're looking at everything and saying, oh, it's part. And when you say part of me, part of my body, as an extension of my body. But Krishna says, no, no, no. Once you get this knowledge, you will see everything as an extension of me, Krishna. And you will see everything as related to Paramatma. So once you are able to see everyone in relation to the Supreme Lord, then there is no question of moham. This is mine, this is not mine. This person is my relative, my friend, my enemy. That doesn't arise. So with this knowledge, then the question is, okay, with the knowledge, what if I commit sins? Having the knowledge, you are saying I'll never fall into illusion. But then I'm going to go kill. I'm going to kill my family members. And that is a sin. So Krishna says, Apichedasi papebhya, apiched asi, tvam asi. Even if, apichet, even if you are papebhya sarvebhya papakrittamaha. Aha. Sarvebhya papebhyo. amongst all the papis in the universe. Papa krit. You are a doer of papa, but you're not just a normal sinner. You are papa krit tamaha. Uttama papa krita. You are the best among all sinners. Okay, you're the topmost sinner. Let's assume that every sinner in the world has a competition and you are the winner of that competition. You are the topmost sinner. Api chedasi sarvam jnana plavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. But because you are riding the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will just easily cross over this crooked vrijinam. Prabhupada translates it as the ocean of miseries. Vrijinam means crooked or deceptive or wicked. So this material world is so difficult. It is such a negative place. But you will cross over it easily without committing any sins. So this word api chet. Api chet का मतलब है, you know how in Hindi we say, अच्छा मान लिया. अच्छा मान लिया. Which means it is never going to happen. By using the word apichet, Krishna is saying, when you have jnana, when you have this perfect knowledge, you will never commit a sin. वो हो ही नहीं सकता है. You will never commit a sin. लेकिन चलो मान लिया. ठीक है. मान लिया कि तुम ही पापियों में से महान पापी हो. सबसे उत्तम पापी तुम ही हो, अर्जुन. फिर भी this boat of knowledge will carry you over. By this, what does it mean? It means that once you have the knowledge, you will never commit a sin, period. There is no question of sin ever arising. Then in 37, so here Sridhara Swami raises a question at the end of 36. He says, okay, I don't commit any sins. My sins are burnt. Great. So all my reactions, I don't get any of them. But when I cross over this ocean, when you say I cross over the ocean is made up of all my previous papa. Correct? I have done so many sins in my past. Once I get knowledge, I will not commit any sins. Great. But what about my past sins? They will definitely come and bite me. Those reactions will definitely accrue to me. Then what is going to happen? For that, Krishna answers, he says, Yathaidhamsi samidhognir bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute tatha yatha tatha. Like we say in when we have yada hi dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So yada tada. Yaha saha. Similarly, yatha tatha. So yatha. Yatha means jaise. Yatha jaise, tatha वैसे. Yatha tatha. Jaise वैसे. Okay. जैसे क्या? Just as edham si. ईंधन बोलते ना? Fuel. Firewood. Samidhaha agnihi. When there is a blazing fire which is fed by adequate fuel, it turns everything into bhasma. Bhasma means ash. Everything, it turns into ashes. And what happens to the ash? It doesn't even need a strong wind. It just flies off into the air. You can't even make out that there was ash over there. In the same manner, Jnana Agni, the Agni, which is Jnana, burns all your karmas, past, present, and future. Okay. So, as the blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, so Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. And here Prabhupada says, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, meaning all reactions which have occurred, are in the process of occurring, and are going to occur. And then Krishna praises Jnana. He says, Nahi Jnane na sadrisham. There is nothing like Jnana. Pavitram iha vidyate. There is nothing more pure than Jnana. That's Swayam Yoga Samsiddha. It is the Samsiddha. Siddhi means the, what is the word for Siddhi? Result. But Prabhupada beautifully translated mature fruit. Samsiddha. The mature fruit of all yoga is this knowledge. Which means after doing all the yogic exercises and everything, if we don't get this knowledge, Shrama eva hi kevalam. Remember yesterday we read? So such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. And one who has achieved this enjoys the self within himself in due course of time. Now the question arises, why does Krishna say there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge? Why does Krishna say that? Nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. What makes it pure? What is the quality of purity? Yes, Vidushi?
Not contaminated by anything.
Beautiful. And when something comes in contact with purity, what happens?
It also becomes pure.
It also becomes pure. Okay. So jnana, because it is so powerful, what is the opposite of jnana? Ajnana. Ignorance. Jnana is tamas, that's right. Ajnana or tamas cannot stand in front of jnana. Now, why is that so important? Do you remember we once talked about the cycle of sin? That's the one. I'm just sharing my screen here. Just a minute. So this is the cycle of sin, or the cycle of sinful life. Why do we commit sins? Due to ignorance. When we are ignorant about who we are, when we are ignorant about the quality of the world around us, when we are ignorant about our relationship with the Supreme Lord, all this ignorance causes us to have sinful desires. Oh, I need to go and do something dishonest so that I can get some money. Why? So that I can enjoy my life. Where is this desire coming from? That is the question. Yeah. Because when we are little, we can see that different children behave differently. They have instincts. They automatically have certain proclivities. Where is all this coming from? So this cycle actually explains it. So our ignorance causes us to have sinful desires. From avidya, you get the bija. Bija means seed. The seed of sin. Papa bija. This Papa Bija then fructifies. It grows into a plant. What from Papa Bija, what will come? Papa only will come. So from sinful desires, you are forced to commit sins. This in turn leads to reactions. Some reactions are manifest right now. For instance, I fall so sick that I can't walk anymore, or you get a theft in the house, or you get into some legal trouble. These are all symptoms of our sinful action. These are all symptoms of what we have done in the past. They are manifesting now. Now some remain unmanifest. So for instance, the sin that I'm committing right now, maybe nobody's observed me doing it. And in the process, I'm not getting a reaction right now. Doesn't mean that karma won't come back. Right? So that is called unmanifest reaction. The reaction that has not yet occurred, but will occur sometime in the future. Now, when we have unmanifest reaction, that is way more dangerous than manifest reaction. Unmanifest reaction continues to give us the tendency to commit more sins. It's called kutam. Which is why the Bhagavatam says that when we get all these reactions, we take it as Krishna's mercy. We say, oh, thank you so much, my Lord. This is all, whatever is happening to me, it's all my own sin that's coming back to me right now. I have no one to blame for this except myself. Thank you. And Krishna says, one who behaves like this, he is the true heir to my Daya Bhak. He is the true heir to my mercy. One who behaves like this. So, a prarabdha karma is very, very dangerous. Till it becomes prarabdha, it keeps working in the background, causing us to do more sins. So then when we have prarabdha karma, that leads to our current suffering. Now, when we have tendency to commit sin, kutam, that means we have sinful desires, and that cycle continues over there. So how to get out of all this? Ignorance needs to be destroyed. And ignorance can only be destroyed through jnana, knowledge about the Supreme. And your bija, the sinful desires, papa, and aprarabdha, as well as the kutam, these can be destroyed through chanting, doing bhakti. Prarabdha karma also gets destroyed through bhakti. So when we have ignorance, if that gets destroyed by jnana, what happens? It means that we now have the knowledge. We won't do something wrong. Then we have all these sinful desires. So we start doing our chanting properly. The bija, it is actually said that just like, if you take mustard seeds and chuck them in the soil, they will sprout. But if you take the mustard seeds and roast them and now chuck them, they will not sprout. So what does bhakti do? Bhakti roasts these seeds. The bija is roasted and it will no longer sprout. It will no longer sprout into papa. And when it doesn't sprout into papa, then automatically your aprarabdha, prarabdha, etc., all the suffering tends to go down. You're not creating more karma for yourself. Okay. Now what happens to the aprarabdha karma, the unmanifest reaction? Bhakti starts to burn that also down. The moment you chant the Lord's name, even when you don't know the meaning of that name, it tends to burn everything up. Aprarabdha, kutam, everything is burnt up. Then, when it burns up your prarabdha karma, it doesn't mean that your suffering goes away immediately. Remember, we talked about how the fan keeps rotating even after it's been unplugged. So, for some time, it continues. Now, even though we may have knowledge, jnana, sometimes we will see that people continue to do sinful activities. Like we have so many people who are very, very learned, but they may still do some sinful activities. Why is that? That comes from habit. Habit. Our habits. Now, this is where the question of free will comes into play. Yes. By jnana, avidya is destroyed. By bhakti, everything is destroyed. Still, if you continue to do, it just means that you are not, in today's parlance, you're not mindful of where you're going. That boils down to just bad habits. And that is where Krishna says, apichet suduracharo bhajate mamananya bhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito histaha. In the 9th chapter, he says, even though somebody may be durachara, his achar, his working. Achar?
Achar is
Behavior. Behavior, thank you. His behavior. Even though his behavior may be bad, he is devoted to me. Bhajate mam ananya bhak. Ananya. He doesn't know anybody else. He knows only me. Such a person, sadhuhu eva mantavyah. You have to think of him as a sadhu. Mind you, you have to think of him as a sadhu. Krishna doesn't say go, you have to go associate with him. So don't say, oh no, Krishna said I have to, he's doing so much wrong, but I'm still, no, you don't have to. In your heart of hearts, don't feel anything negative about that person. Do what, if you can do something to help that person, great. If you can't, durena namaskaram kritva gachatu. Just from far. And this is what Rupa Goswami says in the Upadeshamrita. Upadeshamrita. Verse 5. Verse 5. Krishne tiyasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti ched bhajat pranatibhascha bhajantam isham shushushaya bhajanam vigyam ananyamanya nindadishunyam hridamipsita sangalabdha. He says Krishna iti, कृष्णेति यस्य गिरि, जिसके मुख में कृष्ण शब्द है, कृष्णेति यस्य गिरि, तम उसको मनसा आद्रियेत, मन से आदर कर लो. If somebody is chanting the name of the Lord, but you think his character is not all that great, no problem. From afar, bow down to him. You don't have to go and get into a close relationship with such a person. So, coming back to Jnana Plava, the boat of knowledge. So Krishna says, Nahi jnanena sadrisham. There is nothing like jnana. Pavitram iha. Iha means in this world, here, iha. Vidyate exists. Tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. Once you know, once you have this jnana, you are happy within yourself. You can see the Lord within and you are happy. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions? Okay. Okay, then we can stop here. So next week, Aditya Prabhu, right?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so you are doing verses 39, 40,
41, 42.
41 and 42. Okay, excellent.
Mataji,
Yes.
question about if like you were talking about the cycle of sinful life. Thank you for sharing all that. It's really interesting because then we know what is our status, our current status, how we need to improvise moving forward.
Yes.
But just now you mentioned the verse, the text 5 from Upadeshamrita.
Yes, nectar of instruction.
Nectar of instructions here. So if the devotee, like you say, everyone has their flaws, no one is perfect.
Yeah.
And if he has the gyan, the knowledge, and he's initiated, second initiated, and yet they do have, like, they have flaws in ego and so on. And so how do we, but it's our nature that we go and say, oh yeah, still again, he's still not changing himself. How do we stop saying about that person, the flaws about the person, because we know it's wrong, because he's doing all what is right, according to he's chanting, he's preaching, he's doing everything, but yet he has a little bit of weakness, maybe. Like, I never say I don't have at all, I do have my own weaknesses, but he is, beside being a senior person, we are supposed to take guidance and being our mentor to us. And how are we, so what do we do in this case?
Okay. I am going to share text 5 with you, because this text is an extremely important text when it comes to associating with other devotees.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So here, 3 types of devotees have been described by Rupa Goswami. Okay, devotees in 3 levels. The first is a very neophyte, newbie kind of a devotee. It does not mean that the devotee is a newbie. Newbie meaning he's only been following bhakti for, let's say, just a year or so. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about his mentality. He may have been in the movement, or he may have been doing bhakti for, let's say, 25 years. But maybe there is such a lot of past karma that is so deep that it takes that person a long time to overcome all his faults. So here we are starting with the first kind of devotee. Who is that? Krishna iti yasya giri. Krishna, the holy name, iti, इति दास यस्य, जिसके, गिरि, मुख में, जिसके मुख में कृष्ण करके नाम है, तम, उसको, मनसा आद्रियेत, मन से आदर करो. Okay, and in the so here Prabhupada talks about this. He says in this verse, he tells us how to deal with 3 types of devotees: Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari. So here we talked about the Kanishta Adhikari. The Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from a spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person with his mind as a Kanishta Adhikari. One more symptom of the Kanishta Adhikari. One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and who is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. So what are the symptoms of a Kanishta Adhikari? Okay, one who is chanting, but who thinks that the deity is available only, that Krishna is only available in the temple. Okay, which means he is not seeing Krishna in every living entity. He is seeing Krishna only in the temple. मंदिर में मूर्ति है तो भगवान वहां पर है. हम दिन रात मंदिर में रहेंगे, पूजा सेवा करेंगे, लेकिन बाहर आएंगे तो फिर कृष्ण को भूल गए. Okay, so, and such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam. Archayam eva hareye pujam yah shraddhaye hate. Archa vigraha. Archayam. Saptami vibhakti. Archayam. In the Archa vigraha. Eva only. Haraye Pujam. One who does puja of Lord Sri Hari only in a deity form. Na tad bhakteshu cha anyeshu saha bhaktah prakritah smritah. And na tad bhakteshu cha anyeshu. He doesn't know how to behave towards other devotees, and he doesn't know how to behave with people in general. Anyeshu. Bhakteshu, anyeshu. He doesn't know how to behave with devotees. He doesn't know how to behave with people in general. Such a person is a prakrita bhaktaha. Prakrita, general or materialistic bhakta or kanishtha adhikari. Okay, so the person you have just described would probably fall into this kind of category, where they don't know how to behave properly with others. Okay, that is one. Now, let's look at then. Okay, he goes off into Diksha. Second, so that is a Kanishta Adhikari. Now let's look at who is a Madhyama Adhikari, the middle. Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantam isham. Dikshasti chet pranatibhis. Diksha asti chet, if that person has diksha, then pranatibhis, pranam karo. Again, here it is not said that you must work with them or take any kind of instructions from them. Nothing is said here. Diksha asti chet pranam. Hare Krishna, how are you? So nice to see you. Yeah. I hope you enjoy your day at the temple. Hare Krishna. Not more than that. Okay. Now, who is a Madhyama Adhikari? That is also brought out here. A Madhyama Adhikari has received spiritual initiation from the spiritual master and has been fully engaged by him in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Madhyama Adhikari should be considered to be situated midway in devotional service. Okay. Now, so now that we know who is a Kanishta Adhikari, he sees the deity only in the temple. Prabhupada then says, one therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanishta Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. He is described in the Bhagavatam as Ishware tad adhineshu balisheshu dushatsuscha prema maitri kripa upeksha yah karoti saha madhyamaha. The Madhyama differentiates. He discriminates between different people. He looks at various other devotees. Firstly, Ishware tad adhineshu. For him, he is completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord. Then balisheshu. So when he sees anyone who is balisha, means like bacche jaisa, na? Ignorant people. He shows maitri. He shows kripa. And dvishatsu, he apeksha. Upeksha. Kripopeksha. Upeksha means neglect. When he sees somebody who is behaving inimically, he just neglects them. When he sees another devotee, prema, maitri, he shows love, he shows affection, he shows friendship. When he sees ignorant people, he shows kripa. And when he sees people who are inimical, he shows upeksha, neglect. Yah karoti saha madhyamaha. Okay. Okay. So this is the difference between the Kanishta and the Madhyama. Now the Madhyama Adhikari is the one who will normally do all the preaching. He is the one, because he is the one who's able to discriminate. To be a preacher, you have to look at who your audience is and talk accordingly. You'll say, oh, this is a bunch of young teenagers. If I'm going to go and talk to them, about Prema Bhakti, it's probably not going to go down very well at all. So with them, I need to tell them maybe some stories, talk about other things, talk about things that affect them in their lives. Whereas when I go meet some elderly people, they will love Krishna Katha. So I can tell them Krishna Katha. So a Madhyama Adhikari is one who discriminates and behaves accordingly. Now we come to the Uttama Adhikari. Pranatibish cha bhajantamisham shushrusaya bhajana vigyam ananyam anya nindadi shunya hridam anya nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sanga labdhya. Now this is very interesting. One should associate with bhajantam isham, one who's engaged in the devotional service, bhajan, of the Supreme Lord. Who is this person? Anya ninda adi shunya hridam. One whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. Now he is an Uttama Adhikari. Why? Because in everything he sees the Lord. In every act he sees the Lord. So with such a person, what should you do? Shushrushaya, you should serve him. With Shushrusha, with service. Shushrushaya, such a bhajana vignyam. Vignya means he's very advanced. From him, you should ipsita sanga labdhya. Such a person you should always associate with. Which means with number 1 and number 2, the choice is yours. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that one must always look for swajati devotees. Swajati doesn't mean people who come from the same village or jiski meri jati ek saath hai, we all speak the same language. Not that. We all have the same mindset. We have to associate with people who have the same mindset. If we do not associate with people who have the same mindset, our mind is going to be agitated. If our mind is going to be agitated, we are not going to progress in bhakti, period. Remember, at the beginning of Upadeshamrita, we talked about that verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which said, what was that verse? Oh, I need to change my screen. No? 1 minute.
Is it Vachu Vega Mataji?
No. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is a verse which says Shoka Marsha Dibir Bhave Akrantam Yasya Manasam Katham Tasya Mukundasya Spurti Sambhavana Bhavet. Shoka, when there is lamentation. Amarsha, when there is anger. Adibihi, etc. Bhavaihi, by such negative feelings. Akrantam yasya manasam, one whose mind is agitated. Katham tasya mukundasya spurti sambhavana bhavet. Where is Mukunda going to appear spontaneously in such a mind, which is filled with shoka, amrasha, etc.? Which means protecting our mind is our business. If being in the company of some particular person agitates your mind, you don't have to do anything about it. See, we can do something about it if we are an authority. Do we have authority over that person to tell that person, hey, you're doing wrong? Only his guru has that authority. We don't. Are we their best friend? Hey, bhai, kya kar rahe ho tum? Stop doing this, okay? It's not good for you. This is how you're perceived outside if you do this. Do we have that authority? No, we don't. If we don't, shut up. If that is causing too much problem in society, are we able to bring it to the notice of some authority who can then correct that person? Is it worth all that trouble? If it is not, walk away. If it is causing problems to others and you can do something about it, do it. There's no point getting into that situation, getting stuck in that situation, and then shoka marshadibir bhaver akrantam yasya manasam. Then yasya manasam na asmakam manasam eva. Does that answer your question, Mataji? I know it was a kind of long-winded answer, but it does. I said because it's not an easy question. It's not and it's because it's very contextual. It depends on who that person is and all the rest of it. So, but a general guideline is Krishne tiyasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet partibhascha bhajantamisham shushrusaya bhajanam vigyamananyamanya Nindadishunyam hridamipsita sangalabhya. Lekin if you find one person who's an Uttam Adhikari, don't let him go. Catch him and take his association for all your worth. Don't let that person go.
So are our spiritual masters Uttama Adhikari, Mataji?
It all depends. Your guideline is here.
True. Another thing, I don't know whether is this okay. No, I do not know whether there's one thing I hear from the class was Socrates 3 filter tests. Socrates,
Yeah.
3 filter tests. So if you want to, like you said, if you want to hear about someone good or not, and so there's a 3 filter test.
Oh yes,
So,
yes.
Yeah. So true or not the story, then are you pleased to hear about you or me? Is it beneficial to you and me? So it's Satyam Priyam Hitam.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Satyam Priya Hitam Chayat.
Yeah. The Bhagavad Gita 17:15.
17:15, that's correct.
Yeah. So this is sometimes you have to go through the 3 filter tests.
Yes.
Then only we say, okay, we move away.
Exactly. And remember, Swajati. See, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said it for a reason. Because, like I said, our job is to make sure that our mind remains controlled. Which means whatever is agitating us needs to be stopped as quickly as possible. Sometimes, of course, things are out of our control. We are not talking about that. But when things are within our control, talking to somebody, taking their association is definitely within our control. Being kind, not being rude, even to such a person is also within our control. Not picking a fight with such a person is also within our control. So just because we don't agree with somebody doesn't mean we have to go, boom. That is within our control, because that is also Amrisha. We don't want to get into that. If there are problems which we can sort out, definitely get in there, sort it out. If there are problems you can't sort out and you can do nothing except sit and moan about it, walk away. Because that's what we do. Most of the time, we're not sorting out problems. Most of the time, we're sitting and moaning about problems. Whoever we meet, we talk to them about it. We moan about it. And that doesn't help anybody. Least of all us, because every time we talk about a problem, that leaves a deeper cut in our psyche. This is like, you have a hard rock and you have a rope. Keep rubbing it, the rope is going to actually get, worn out. But after a while, the rock also starts to get a mark. So the harder you keep rubbing in that mark, the deeper it's going to get. So these are samskaras. The harder we keep at a particular problem, the deeper it's going to get into our psyche and the deeper our samskara. Positive samskaras are good, negative samskaras are very, very bad. So somehow or the other, we have to make sure that we don't get the negative samskaras. So for that, two things. Either solve the problem or walk away from it. And sometimes the other person might feel bad about it. You no longer, take my association, you no longer whatever. We manage it very politely, very nicely. But bhakti is a selfish process. If this is like the aeroplane, when the oxygen mask drops, what do they say? First put it on yourself, then put it on your child. First save yourself, then save somebody else. In bhakti, first you make sure you are situated perfectly, then you can go around telling others off. And as we saw in Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, once you have all that, you don't want to tell anybody off anyways. Na? Prithivim Sasishyat, you can make the entire world your disciple. But hey, if I have Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, everything under control, I don't want to make any disciples. I'm not interested in anything anyways. I hope that makes sense. Sorry for a very long-winded answer.
Thank you so much, Mataji. That was really nice. Very helpful.
So if there's nothing else, we'll stop here today. Okay, next week we actually finish off with chapter 4. So the week after, Who would like to do chapter 5? So we have verse, verse 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3.
One, two, three.
Yes.
I'll do it.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you. Okay, so we'll stop here. Next Saturday, we meet a little early. We meet at 5 p.m. Thank you
This
so
one,
much.
this one is on Sunday.
This is on
too.
Sunday. Yeah, this is not coming Sunday, the following. Yeah. And maybe we'll have a quiz before that. So we'll see how we go. That's if I have the time to sit down and create a quiz.
So the quiz is next
I'll
week,
let you know
Madhuri.
by next week.
What it is, the quiz is going to be next week or the following week then?
The quiz will be the following week. Yeah.
On the chapter 4.
Yeah, on chapter 4.
Whatever notes that you have given, is it based on that or?
Just generally chapter 4.
Objective test.
Yeah, it's an object. It's multiple choice, so don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
Although yes, I am a good question paper setter. I've done it for NZQA, so yes.
Oh.
No. Just trying to scare you all. Don't worry.
If it is NZQA, no problem.
Yeah.
But none of our children are small now, all in the uni, Mataji, so too late you told us. All secondary and high school already.
No, this is for adults anyways, so professional courses.
Okay.
So we'll catch up next week, next Saturday at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna,
Thanks.
everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Everyone.